Ah yes, Disneyland, that little-known park in Southern California owned by that giant rat with the not-so-giant castle. The year is 1977, and a little-known film is about to be released that will change Disneyland and the theme park industry forever.
Somewhere in space, this may all be happening right now. 20th Century Fox and George Lucas, the man who brought you American Graffiti, now bring you an adventure unlike anything on your planet. Star Wars.
Here they come. Coming in too fast!
The story of a boy, a girl, and a universe. It's a big, sprawling space saga of rebellion and romance. It's a spectacle, light years ahead of its time.
I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Hello.
It's an epic of heroes.
Good luck.
And villains. And aliens from 1,000 worlds. Star Wars, 1 billion years in the making, and it's coming to your galaxy this summer.
Star Wars was unfortunately a massive flop at the box office and nothing ever came of it. Kidding, obviously, Star Wars became one of the biggest film franchises in movie history, spawning 2 sequels in the early 80s and a massive toy line. This of course caught the attention of the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Michael Eisner. He reached out to George Lucas to begin developing Star Wars themed attractions for Disneyland, and one of these early concepts was an indoor coaster themed to the Empire, but this proved to be too costly. Around this time, flight simulators had been appearing in malls as upcharge attractions, and this caught the attention of Michael Eisner. To make a long story short, Disney developed a much larger scale flight simulator called the Atlas Sim and closed Adventures Through Inner Space, a aging on-remover ride in the Tomorrowland section at Disneyland.
Now, in a kingdom very near,
R2, do hurry, the passengers are boarding.
prepare yourselves
Welcome aboard.
for the newest thrill attraction from the imaginations of Disney and George Lucas. Because now, the adventure is real. Star Tours. The newest thrill in the universe at Disneyland.
Star Tours ended up being a huge success for Disneyland, being unlike any other attraction built before. It was thrilling, immersive, and completely unique, set within the Star Wars universe but its own storyline. While Star Tours was under construction at Disney's MGM Studios, Disney was planning another attraction using the same ride system, in their new Wonders of Life pavilion at Epcot Center. Now, Body Wars would open just a few months prior to the opening of Florida's Star Tours counterpart, and would be more similar to Disneyland Star Tours in its scale with only 4 simulator bays. But that doesn't mean Body Wars was just another Star Tours clone. It was a very, unique attraction. Body Wars would be set within the fictional MET facility, aka a white desolate void, filled with TV screens playing a looping video introducing you to your ride vehicle. Guests would board the Bravo 229er, a body probe piloted by the cocky Captain Braddock. Now, the ride's story, as I understand it, is we are miniaturized inside a park guest with a splinter to pick up Dr. Cynthia Lair. In true theme park fashion, something has to go horribly wrong, and we are sent on a wild goose chase through the human body to rescue her. Once we rescue her, we have to travel to the brain to get a jump start to power the ship's battery. The brain's electrical signals are enough to do that, and we are brought back to size, thus ending the attraction. But if you want to know a strange fact about this ride, it was actually directed by Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, the guy from Star Trek. The success of these two attractions kickstarted a massive trend in the theme park industry, one that would infect a park just down the road, opening a few years later.
Beginning in May 1990, entertainment will never be the same. That's when you'll play a starring role in an awesome array of attractions based on the greatest motion pictures in Hollywood history. Whether you're soaring through the sky with E.T., rocketing at the speed of light in Back to the Future, or facing the howling, growling fury of King Kong, for the first time you will feel what it's like to ride the movies. This is Universal Studios Florida, the only studio with 75 years of great movie-making experience behind it. The only studio that will take your imagination and hold it captive for days on end. Universal Studios Florida, premiering in Orlando, May 1990. Come see the stars and ride the movies.
With the opening of Universal Studios Florida in 1990, Universal began developing a new high-tech attraction based off their own very popular sci-fi franchise, Back to the Future.
How far are you going?
About 30 years.
Instead of copying the Atlas simulator technology, Universal developed their own ride system. Simulators put in a giant dome screen on forklifts, and this ride would creatively be called Back to the Future the Ride.
Into the car! Activate time circuits! We're going back!
To the future?
To the Ice Age!
Wow!
Great Scott! Hang on!
Go back to the future. At Universal Studios Florida.
It's the greatest ride in the universe as we know it! Great Scott!
Back to the Future the Ride would be a groundbreaking attraction with its screen technology and its high-capacity simulators. But now our adventure takes us, well, back in time to 1990 in Williamsburg, Virginia. One of the many themed areas of Busch Gardens Williamsburg was Hastings, a medieval village-themed area with tents and castles. Of course, with the rising popularity of simulator attractions at the time, Busch Gardens decided to cash in and build one of their own, using Reflectone's 59-seat theme machines. While being extremely similar to Star Tours, these were apparently capable of a wider range of motion and featured a higher definition projection system. Busch Gardens Williamsburg simulator attraction would become known as Questor, a journey into the Earth's core.
Welcome aboard Questor. Please keep your seatbelt fastened, since you might experience some turbulence.
Is this real? Is it the ride? Or just your imagination? The new Questor, now at Busch Gardens, where it's going, you've never been.
While Star Tours and Body Wars used a mix of early CGI and practical effects, Questor would be different because it would actually be shot on location, for at least some of the footage, but it would also use a mix of practical effects and miniatures. The ride experience would begin after guests head to the left after entering the land and enter a giant stone castle with a sail saying Questor. Guests head down a long winding hallway into one of the pre-show rooms where guests are introduced to the main character, Alwyn, who explains their mission is to retrieve the Crystal of Zed. We board our craft and the ride film begins. Alwyn explains that the last place he saw the Crystal of Zed was deep within the Earth's core, so we find ourselves careening through different caverns filled with various crystals. We eventually find ourselves drilling through one of these walls of crystal and getting sucked through a vortex into an underground ocean of sorts. This underground ocean somehow turns into a river, which is connected to a huge waterfall which we plunge over. We eventually find ourselves underground once again and come across the Crystal of Zed itself. We try to capture it using the ship's power, and it ends up being too powerful and ends up sucking us in, and we chase it deeper underground. We eventually capture it and return to where we started. In true theme park fashion, Alwyn thanks us for our help, the door in front of the screen raises, and the ride concludes, and that's Questor. Questor quickly became a fan favorite at the park, and you would think it would operate through at least the end of the decade, being such a popular ride. Wrong. It would end up closing just 5 years later in 1995 to make way for a brand new attraction, one that would honestly be a better fit for the land, but would not be a good attraction at all. King Arthur's Challenge would open in 1996, and would be a CGI-heavy, nauseating simulator attraction, according to some posts on park fans. And aside from this one photo you see on your screen now, there is no evidence this ride existed at all. No photos of the queue, no videos of the ride experience, not even vague concept art of the attraction is out there on the internet. But the attraction wouldn't last long either, closing in 2000, and over the off-season the area was actually transformed into an entirely new country, Ireland, in the village of Kilnary. The area was entirely transformed, crumbling the castles, getting rid of the tents, and making it more feel like a small Irish town. The centerpiece of this redo was the third iteration of the simulator attraction, Corkscrew Hill. The facade was entirely rebuilt into a more square and more overgrown castle, making it feel a lot older and tucked away within the village. The ride experience began by entering the castle and heading down the long stone hallway recycled from the previous two attractions, and guests would enter the pre-show being introduced to an old man named McTavish.
So, did Clancy send you? Or maybe that crazy tinker in the wagon? Well, if you're the ones that are wanting to see some magical beasties, I don't recommend it highly. Mark me words, you bug-eyed tourists. There's some nasty creatures round about the moors and glades of old Ireland, and if you're weak of heart or stomach, you're better off over in that Frenchy town down the road, sipping on their fancy cafe latte and eating their fancy pastries. But if you're up for adventure, you've come to the right place, 'cause old McTavish, that's me, has discovered a mystic chamber that'll transport you back to old Ireland. My magic fairy dust will take you back to see those magnificent ancient creatures. Now, are you ready to go back in time? Well, hold still. This won't hurt a bit. You and everything around you, you're now all a part of the wee people, and you are way wee. In fact, you're exactly the right size to fit into me mystic chamber. Okay now? Ready to go? Since you are wee folk now, do me a wee favour and make sure everybody heads on through these doors and stands on one of those magical circles. Okay?
Guests are then given their row number and directed into a second pre-show where McTavish warns them once again about the devilish creatures they may encounter.
Now mind you, most of the creatures are shy and hard to see, like the fairies, gnomes and silence. You'd have to sit still as a stone and wait for him to come around. And while you're doing that, you can pray you don't attract the attention of the trolls, the witches, the banshees, and that sort, which likes to snatch up good folks like yourselves. Gobble them up like chocolates. If you've got half a brain in your wee little heads, you'll strap your tiny little backsides into your tiny little seats so the beasties can't grab onto you and hold you away for their supper. Now, me fairy dust has given you fearsome mental energy. If you need to conjure up some magic, just concentrate your thoughts and the magic will happen. Here's one more puff of me fairy dust to open the pathway into the mystic chamber. Get ready for a grand adventure!
Guests would then board the simulators, now with the roof chopped off and a screen built in front, and the ride film would begin.
What's that? Landed over there then, Fenton?
Dunno, Paddy. Just dropped right out of the sky. It's a little wooden box.
Give it a ear and let's have a look. What the devil is in there?
Got me, Paddy, but it's alive, that's for sure.
Give us a match then. Whoa! It's a box full of tiny little people. And they're all strapped into tiny little seats.
They must be worth a fortune. Let's show 'em to Duncan.
Hey Duncan, how much for a box full of tiny people?
Oh, fairies! Get those pesky little critters out of me pub, you devilish little demons. Listen, take 'em out to the woods and look for the glowing eyes of the puka. You'll know where to sell 'em. Oh, makes me blood cold, just smell 'em.
What have you got there, you little urchins?
It's a box, chock full of fairies, and we're looking to sell them.
Hop up in me back, and we'll sell 'em to old Moll, the witch what lives up on Corkscrew Hill.
That old Moll's an evil old skeleton. You better take me lucky dead frog, Paddy. It's never let me down.
Keep your stinking frog, Fenton. I'm Paddy McMooney, the luckiest kid in Ireland.
Hang on tight, Paddy, and I'll protect ye. Them benchies will be wanting to gobble up your fairies, the blood-sucking devils. Keep low and we'll make a run for it.
You're not thinking of jumping that, are you? You crazy beast!
Good night there, me laddie. So it's fairies you've got. I'll give you a copper for this juicy one.
Paddy, for the love of Pete, duck down.
Happy landing, you cheap little troll. Excuse me, Mum. Lovely box full of fairies for sale. I'll give you a good price.
Are they fresh? I only use fresh fairies in my cooking. Oh, they stink. Must be from America. The blackguards. Smarter. Haven't got any Irish spring over there. They'd be no good toasted on a stick. But I can use them as soup stock for my newt stew. Ugh, they're all stuck to the box.
Hey, wait a minute. I didn't know you were going to eat them. Give them back, you daft old cow.
Run along, you little varmint, or I'll turn you into a newt and barbecue you.
I changed me mind, and they're not for sale.
Archibald!
How can I be of service, milady?
Archibald, go and drop this insolent little serpent and his stinking fairies in the ocean and let the sharks eat him. Sharks can't taste anything anyway.
You speak, I obey, enchanted one.
Saints preserve us! Me luck's run out, and we're in for a nasty fall!
Enjoy your swim.
Hang on, you fairies have magical powers, right? Our only hope is to charm the puka. He's down there by the castle. Concentrate your magic on him now! That's it! Concentrate on the puka! We're all shark bait if you don't!
Gotcha!
You did it! Jolly good show. I am the luckiest kid in Ireland. Sorry about trying to sell you to the witch. If it weren't for you fairies and your magic, I'd be fish food. Hey, Paddy! Duncan will take good care of you now. Here you go. Fenton. Let's go for a ride.
Ah, true friends. I don't reckon Paddy and Fenton will ever forget this night.
And I'm hoping the same goes for you. So long, and may the luck of the Irish always be with you.
Corkscrew Hill quickly became a fan favorite among parkgoers, and for good reason. It was a better fit for the park's old country vibe in the brand new Ireland area, blending fun, unique characters with childlike wonder and sometimes downright scary bits made the ride unique, and it was unlike any other simulator attraction done before. But unfortunately, Corkscrew Hill would be overshadowed by another simulator attraction of sorts, opening just across the country in 2001.
Something really big is happening next door to Disneyland in California.
Heads up, everybody. We have a new neighbor.
Oh no, the World Ends at the gate.
Disneyland's where?
Not from this coordinate, Miss White. Aha! They're from California. Ooh, nice limo.
Is there a prince inside?
Sorry, girls, but any interest in a very large bear?
Introducing Disney's California Adventure, a whole new theme park filled with the fun and adventures of California. Right next door to Disneyland, where the magic began.
Let's go see him.
Easy, big guy. Nobody likes a nosy neighbor.
Disney's California Adventure, opening February 2001.
Now, to my casual non-theme park fan viewer, you might be wondering, what does this have to do anything with what we're talking about? Is this just a tangent to make the video longer? Well, no, this is very important. Disney's California Adventure opened in 2001 as one of the biggest flops in theme park history, containing some of the worst attractions ever built by the Walt Disney Company. But one attraction stood out. One attraction was very unique, and that attraction is Soarin' Over California. Often referred to as the crown jewel of Disney's California Adventure at the time, for those of you that don't know, briefly, Soarin' Over California is a proto-gen flying theater of sorts, and it works as follows. Guests are loaded onto one of the 9 glider-themed ride vehicles, which are in fact suspended from a complicated system of pulleys and cables and motors and other engineering stuff, and the ride vehicles themselves are hoisted into a giant Omnimax dome, similar to the one found on the previously mentioned Back to the Future the ride. Another aspect of what makes Soarin' unique is its beautiful ride score set to its sweeping visuals of California. With the success of Soarin' Over California at DCA, they decided to clone the attraction once again in 2007 at Epcot. With the success of both of these attractions, parks decided to cash in on the success for themselves, and Busch Gardens was no different. And unfortunately, Corkscrew Hill will become a victim of this trend in 2010.
This weekend, my family and I took a trip to Europe.
This weekend?
Lights! We saw the great cities of Europe, flew high over Big Ben, zoomed around Paris, and flew so low over the Colosseum I could almost touch it.
Russell, you really didn't do all that in one weekend, did you?
Nope, we did it all in under 5 minutes.
Europe in the air, a high-flying adventure. Flights departing daily only at Busch Gardens. Don't forget your fun card. Pay for a day, come back all summer.
If you're counting, Europe in the Air would be the 4th iteration of this simulator attraction to exist within a very short time frame, and it was no different than its sister attractions. The same winding long stone tunnel queue remains, now loosely redecorated to be more airport-like, and the pre-show rooms were lazily repainted sky blue with travel posters slapped over the walls. Speaking of lazy, the pre-show itself was a blatant Soarin' ripoff with a similar Patrick-like character.
Hello there, I'm Miles of Sky, an air traffic controller, and welcome to Europe in the Air, a high-flying adventure. We are the premier purveyors of holidays for people who have no time to travel. In fact, we offer a complete 2-week holiday in mere minutes.
Flight Echo Alpha 55, refueling. Begin pre-boarding orientation.
Confirmed. Right, now we don't have much time, and that's the way we like it. You'll be taken to the skies today in one of our spacious Slipstream 3000 air sleds, a state-of-the-art auto-navigation aircraft that flies so fast that, well, you won't feel that jet lag until next week.
Alert, Echo Alpha 55, new flight plan. Request for approval.
New flight plan? I thought you were taking the Europe in the Air Deluxe travel package, which is the best one. See, you're up in the air flying over exciting destinations like the Blarney Castle in Ireland, Big Ben in England, the Eiffel Tower in France, up and over the German Alps and down the Italian coast of Sorrento. It is quite lovely.
Air Tower. Incoming information regarding Colosseum in Rome. Low altitude flyover.
Now that can't be right, because we never get to do that. But amazing! We're in for a real treat today. Echo Alpha 55, Air Tower, clearance for flyover, approved.
Echo Alpha 55. Colosseum redirect confirmed. Ready for pre-board briefing.
Well, looks like you're all set. So, please, grab your carry-ons, gather up your group, and proceed through the bay doors. And once inside the briefing room, please stand at one of the green or yellow illuminated lights on the front.
Slipstream Echo Alpha 55. Initiating pre-board briefing.
Thank you for choosing Europe in the air, the fastest way to fly. Fare thee well, and bon voyage!
Guests then enter the second pre-show room where the ride's legally required safety video is played. Then the doors open and guests board their flight, or simulator, and the ride film begins. Now, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. This version of the ride is bad. Really, really bad. It is literally just screensavers of European landmarks set to decent music that's trying to be Soarin'. I mean, literally, it flies over Stonehenge, the London Eye, and various other icons across the continent. Now, I understand Busch Gardens was limited with the turnaround time between seasons and, well, the aging ride system itself. I unfortunately got to ride Europe in the Air in 2011 or 2012, and I don't remember much about my experience other than it feeling out of sync with the ride film and the music being way too loud. Europe in the Air was so unpopular that Busch Gardens decided to just up and close it in 2013 at the height of the summer season because of budget cuts due to the film Blackfish, which, of course, several attractions, as I mentioned in several documentaries before, closed during that time. Europe in the Air actually reopened the next season in 2014, but would eventually permanently close in 2016 to make way for a more fitting attraction. For the next 2 years, the building sat empty and unused, with fans wondering what the future would hold for it, and in 2018, they would tease what would be coming.
This is where everything happens down here, all the technology. We've got the hydraulic power units. They're really the lifeblood, the heartbeat of the entire system. This is a real flight simulator. These things train actual airline pilots. Many of our best fans have been riding this ride for a number of years with Questor, Corkscrew Hill, Europe in the Air, but we've always thought that these motion bases could do even more. We've always been kind of limited with our off-board video, which is our big video screen here. Well, we're going to take that whole dynamic with new technology that's now available, and we're going to transform it completely. It's actually a virtual reality experience that's evolutionary, really, in theme parks or anywhere. Nowhere else has this ever been done.
A short time later, it was announced that Battle for Ire would be coming to the park, featuring custom-built VR headsets to help the headset stay on during the simulator experience, and a custom ride film made especially for Busch Gardens. While the ride system would remain untouched, the queue would see the most changes it had ever seen in the previous 4 simulator attractions. The building would be entirely transformed into a brand new experience, redressing a lot of the pre-shows with a lot of fancy technologies such as projection mapping and a raising wall in the second pre-show, replacing the doors. The exit hallway would see no changes whatsoever other than the addition of a few fancy lighting effects. The ride experience would begin after entering the same crumbling stone castle and heading down the long winding hallway, now lined with TV screens instructing you how to put on your VR headset. The walls were now painted with runes, and the waiting area was repainted back to stone gray and now featured distribution carts for the emerald masks. The first pre-show, as promised, was completely transformed from the previous versions, and of course featured a projection-mapped pre-show that would tell the backstory of the ride's lore within the land and the attraction's story. The second pre-show would feature a book of sorts, and explain the ride's safety instructions and how to properly wear the VR headset. This pre-show room also featured a few Easter eggs to the previous attractions. Of course, guests would then board the simulator, put on their VR headset, and the adventure would begin.
It's the Sluagh. We can't let them find the Heart of Ire. Here's a dash of magic, so you can follow me. I'm warning you now. Don't lag too far behind. Tight squeeze! Come on with you, and try to keep up. Hurry, this way. We're almost there. There it is, the Heart of Ire. Looks like we beat him. Wait, what's that? Oh no, the Sluagh! Those nasty little creatures! Back off, monsters! No! All of them! Take cover! They're friends. They're here to help us. They're gonna need a lift, Ollie. Look, the Sluagh have made a portal. Let's go. Come on, Ollie. Faster, faster. Hurry on. This way. Get him! Get him! Not in this century, Sluagh. Careful! Follow my lead! Look out! Up! Up! Whoa! That was close. Hurry! Before the portal closes! There! Get him, Ollie! Avoid the rocks! Where did they go? We've got to stop Baylor! Hey! Leave them alone! Come on, follow them! Stay with me! Come on, we can make it! Something does not feel right. Oh, Baylor, you scaldy hound.
Finally, the Heart of Ire is mine. And now, I have the last of the fairy guardians.
Hey, get your claws off them! Oh, what's happening to me?
Silence, beast!
No, Ollie!
Now say goodbye to the fairies.
You are our last chance. Focus all your love of Ireland on the Heart of Ire.
You think your love will stop me? Ha! What?
It's working! Keep it going!
Stop them at once!
Keep your focus on the Heart of Ire!
The Heart of Ire is mine! How can this be? No!
Wow, that was brilliant! You saved the magic of Ireland. And you saved the rest of the Guardians too! Come on, let's go home. Would you look at that? It's starting to look like home again. appreciate your bravery here today. Be sure to keep the love of Ireland in your heart, and you'll always be a true guardian of the Heart of Iron. See you soon!
And that's Battle for Ire. While being an incredibly unique attraction, it wasn't received that well by fans and parkgoers alike, being called one of the biggest fails in Busch Gardens history, being called dull and boring, and overall extremely nauseating. Battle for Ire was a much better fit for the park, but might have been too ambitious for its time. Part of me doesn't understand why Busch Gardens can't grasp the concept of properly updating their simulator attraction like Disney was able to do with Star Tours. Now, I understand Busch Gardens doesn't have the creative force of Imagineering or the roundhouse of IPs that Disney has, but it seems like Battle for Ire had the right spirit, but as I said, was done way too soon and was not given enough time for VR technology to catch up. Today, the building is used for special events such as Hallow Scream and is currently used for the Culinary Diner Haunted House, but there are attractions so it's empty most of the year. Who knows what the future holds for this space, but now we must travel back in time once again to when Busch Gardens Tampa decided to open their own simulator attraction. Questor would open in 1990 at Busch Gardens Tampa, and would be exactly the same as Busch Gardens Williamsburg's attraction, aside from the queue being slightly different, and the pre-show apparently being different, but I couldn't find footage of Williamsburg's pre-show to compare it to. Questor at Busch Gardens Tampa would close in 1998 to make way for a much more fitting attraction for the Egypt area of the park.
Hello, my tourist friends. I am Akbar.
He's a tour guide for a new adventure ride. This journey's gonna rock. Get ready for a shock. He's the great creator of a way cool simulator.
Get ready for the ride of my life.
It's our new simulator ride, Akbar's Adventure Tours, starring Martin Short.
He'll show you around the Sphinx. He's still working out the kinks.
Only at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay.
Opening in 1999, Akbar's Adventure Tours would be a very unique attraction. First of all, it would feature SNL veteran Martin Short, who is actually no stranger to being in theme park attractions in Florida. If you know, you know. But it's also famous for another reason, and a more problematic reason. Martin Short is clearly a white guy of Irish descent, and Akbar is clearly meant to be a character of Egyptian descent. Obviously, this makes it brownface, which was a very problematic issue in the 80s and 90s in film. Additionally, it's also a racist caricature of Egyptian culture, which portrays it as wacky and even dehumanizing at some points. In a brief conclusion, Akbar's Adventure Tours is just a stain on this company's history and is very difficult to talk about. So I'm going to present the attraction as is. No jokes, just straightforward. The ride experience begins by entering a bazaar of sorts, which is also racist, lined with travel posters for Akbar's Adventure Tours. You then enter the first pre-show room.
Hello, tourist friends. I am Akbar, the greatest tour guide, and I'm here to unveil my exciting tour of exotic Egypt, made possible by my homemade simulator. Oh, this is Omar, my #1 brother and cameraman. Out you go, Omar. Follow me. Oh, if you'd like to see all of Egypt in just 5 minutes, let me be your guide. That would be fun. Oh, what's going on here? No. Who are you?
Name's Wharton, Stanford Wharton.
Why are you stealing my stuff, Stan?
Who said Stan? Did I say Stan? Didn't say Stan. I hate Stan. You can't pay your bills, everything.
After that first pre-show, guests are directed into one of two smaller rooms in which the ride's safety video is played.
Make sure that you're standing over, okay? Come on, show me your best. Good. I think you love to do what I ask. Okay, first.
Oh, me too, yes. This is #1 brother and cameraman. Now, these doors before you will open like sesame at any moment. Proceed to the far end of your row and sit down. Secure all the silence upon your body, please. No offense securing other people's bodies. Oh, also, be sure to take the seatbelt like this and fasten it around your active tourist midriff, like so. Then please tug on it.
Guests then walk across the unthemed loading ramp into the simulator itself, and the ride film begins.
The film, not him. Very good. First, vacation adventure. Now, ancient Egyptian marketplace, riding one of that fantastic camels. One humper too. Okay, you say, as long as you pay. Are you getting that vacation sensation yet, Stan?
Vacation sensation means that guy in the second row tosses his lunch. You're gonna clean up, Akbar. We would just call this a technical difficulty.
Think again. There is no difficulty too technical.
It cuts to this random gag of Akbar's brother breaking the screen, and then it cuts to the next bit of the tour, which is the ancient pyramids.
Great pyramids.
Omar calls this the Great Pyramids?
Omar Pyramids. Thank you.
How often does this thing crash?
Oh, just once, I imagine.
Trying to give you a heart attack?
No smoking sign. Very good. Feast your eyes on the coolest cat in the desert, the mighty Sphinx.
Hey, you know something? It almost looks impressive.
Thank yous for that ringing endorsement. Omar is now going to take us for an up-close look.
Here we go.
The national treasure is in one piece.
The ride film then shorts out once again and cuts to the next bit, which is a tour of a spooky tomb.
That part! That one to trespass into the forbidden tomb. Not to worry, you know. Anytime it's just a simulator. Stan! Oh, Stan! Will you come back if I call you Stan? Oh, my goodness, that's been a funny moment, wasn't it? Oh, dear. But here we're stuck. Someone give me a hand? Anyone?
The mummy then breaks through the roof of the simulator in a jump scare achieved by an audio animatronic, and uses its magic to transport us to the pyramids for real, burning the ride film and summoning a giant snake.
What film? There is no film in the projector. And Mummy must have magically think that you and our guest was evil too. This is no longer a film at all. This is real.
We then crash into another tomb and encounter another mummy, this time CGI. The mummy then angrily throws us out of the pyramid, and we come crashing to the ground, along with Akbar and Stan. The lights come on and guests disembark the simulator, but that's not where the ride experience ends. In fact, this ride decides to continue its storytelling outside its exit, in which guests could find TV monitors playing bloopers from the attraction's film shoot.
Very soon when you go on up. We lift off the room and they were bouncing on the shoulders and they were watching. Oh! And now, get ready for the ride of my life. Akbar's.
And well, that's Akbar's Adventure Tours. It is a weird and racist attraction that should have never existed in the first place. While being a better fit for the park than Questor, its weird schlocky nature feels better fit for a Six Flags park than Busch Gardens at the time. Akbar's Adventure Tours was also a huge flop for the park, not being as popular as they originally anticipated, and in 2002 it would become a seasonal attraction, and eventually permanently close in 2007. Starting in 2002, its queue would be used for various haunted houses, and the queue rails would just be removed, with a lot of the theming just being covered up. In 2010, the former Questor entrance was used for the Busch Gardens 50th Anniversary Museum, and today, the entire building is gutted and used for one giant haunted house, Stranglewood Estate. But you may be asking yourself, what remnants of Akbar's Adventure Tours and Questor can I find today? And if you know where to look, you can actually find a lot of remnants. In the parking lot, you can spy this crane used to do maintenance on the simulators, and once in the park, you can find Questor's former exit, which was through those double doors. You can also find the railings left over from when this building was open air back during the museum days. And there's plenty of signage left over from Akbar's Adventure Tours, just lazily painted over. While the facade of the bus for the Montu Express was removed several years ago, you can still spy the original entrance sign over the wall for Stranglewood. The former exit pathway remains, now stripped of all of its signage, and lights throughout the area point to nothing. And Big Mama still sits across from the ride's former exit. Over at the Painted Camel Bazaar in Pantopia, a lot of the theming from the queue was relocated here. And now we must continue on to our next adventure, one that'll take us under the sea. By the late 1980s, SeaWorld was struggling to keep up with the demand of Disney and soon to be Universal just down the road. Sure, they had rapidly expanded over the years, adding new animal attractions and offerings for guests, but they needed something else, and they would turn to a very close-to-home legend for inspiration, the Bermuda Triangle. This led to SeaWorld developing their own simulator attraction, one that would take guests on a fantastic journey to where they've never gone before, and it would be simply called Mission Bermuda Triangle. Opening in 1992 in tandem with Shamu's Happy Harbor, this new area of the park would be constructed behind the park's recently built Orca Stadium. The ride experience would begin after guests entered a covered queue line filled with various signage, explaining things like the submersible you would be riding on, and the story behind the Bermuda Triangle and its mysterious disappearances. The pre-show would consist of a briefing telling you your mission, and then you would board one of the 3 Reflectone simulators and the ride would begin. Our adventure started with us dropping into the ocean and exploring a bright and colorful coral reef. We then encounter various animals such as a black-tipped shark and humpback whales. We then travel to the Bermuda Triangle itself and come across various shipwrecks, such as the USS Cyclops, one of the most famous military ship disappearances in history. We then travel to another shipwreck in which, in true theme park fashion, something has to go wrong, and an underwater earthquake occurs, causing the ship to start to collapse, and we narrowly escape. But our submarine is damaged, and we lose power, in which we are sucked into an underwater crevice. A mysterious force then transports us back to the surface, and the ride concludes. And that's Mission Bermuda Triangle. For a ride based off something that has so much mystery and conspiracy theories attached to it, it's pretty boring. I understand that SeaWorld apparently wanted to make the ride more grounded in reality rather than fantasy, but this ended up backfiring as the attraction wasn't that popular, and would close just a few short years later in 1995, set to be replaced by a much more fitting attraction for SeaWorld. Just a year before MBT's closure, SeaWorld began working on a brand new film for the ride, and also constructing a massive indoor animal exhibit behind the attraction's show building. Like Mission Bermuda Triangle and the attractions that came before it, Wild Arctic would use a mix of scale models and real footage to make the attraction feel as real as possible. Another little-known fun fact about the attraction is, as I mentioned before, the animal exhibit was already well under construction in 1994. This allowed them to simply just need to change over their simulator's film and reprogram it, minimizing the downtime for the attraction. In fact, Wild Arctic would open just a few months after Mission Bermuda Triangle closed in 1995. Wild Arctic would open on May 24th of the same year. The attraction's entrance plaza and adjacent restaurant would see no changes. The ride experience would begin after entering under a large semicircular Wild Arctic sign and entering the outdoor queue, which was now adorned with signs showing Arctic animals and the landscape. After a series of winding switchbacks, guests would head up the ramp inside the building and experience the first pre-show. The first pre-show is actually very long and consists of two separate films, one that introduced guests to the animals that call the Arctic home, such as beluga whales, walruses, seals, and polar bears. Then, another film plays that explains the connection between humans and the Arctic.
For 400 years, people tried to sail from Europe to Asia through the wild Arctic. You are about to visit the Arctic labyrinth these brave explorers struggled through as they searched for the elusive Northwest Passage. Europe wanted to trade with Asia, but sailing around the Cape of Good Hope or Cape Horn was extremely treacherous and took a very long time. A Northwest Passage would be much shorter. In 1524, Giovanni de Verrazzano was the first explorer to try and find a Northwest Passage by sailing through the wild Arctic wilderness. Verrazzano found Maine, and Jacques Cartier found the St. Lawrence River. A number of other places in the Arctic are named after the adventurers that followed. Hudson Bay is named for Henry Hudson, Frobisher Bay for Sir Martin Frobisher, the Davis Straits for John Davis, and Baffin Bay for William Baffin. But no one could find the Northwest Passage. The world cheered as explorers like John Ross and Sir John Franklin loaded up their tiny ships and sailed deep into the heart of the wild Arctic. Some of these brave men, like Franklin, disappeared into the frozen Arctic wasteland without a trace. Every attempt to find a Northwest Passage was thwarted by the powerful Arctic ice and cold. Cold that could plunge to minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice that could hold ships like those from the Franklin expedition in its frozen grip for years. Finally, in 1906, Roald Amundsen and his crew navigated their tiny ship the Ua through the wild Arctic maze, and the worldwide quest for a Northwest Passage was over. One alternative route through the Northwest Passage was under the frozen Arctic ice. In 1958, the USS Nautilus became the first atomic submarine to attempt such a daring journey. The world held its breath when the sub attempted to surface and was trapped by the constantly shifting Arctic ice. A ticker-tape parade greeted the heroes when they triumphantly returned from the land that had challenged man since the 16th century in his search for the Northwest Passage.
Guests then exit into the attraction's loading area and are directed to their rows, in which another TV plays the safety video for the attraction.
Welcome, brave explorers. I'm the operations coordinator here at the Franklin Exploration Center, a staging and support facility for Base Station Wild Arctic. I can see we have a hearty group of adventurers today, although some of you seem to be lacking in the proper equipment. Shorts and t-shirts are not Arctic gear. Enough said. Education is our mission, and that's why Thomas Purcell founded the center in 1937 as part of his dream of creating a permanent Arctic research station. He theorized that man could survive in this harsh climate to observe and research the fragile Arctic ecology. That dream became a reality with the completion of Base Station Wild Arctic. Today, we will take you on a short jet helicopter ride. Utilizing special whisper and snorkel modes, we will let you see sights seldom seen by the public. Rare Arctic birds, aquatic mammals, and a pristine wilderness of ice. Once on the ground at Base Station Wild Arctic, you will see many of these animals up close, as well as have the opportunity to walk through the Erebus, one of the two 19th century sailing ships that are now trapped permanently in the ice. I would like to remind you that this helicopter ride is not recommended for expectant mothers, anyone with heart, neck, or back problems, or those prone to motion sickness. Please contact the flight crew and they will arrange to have you fly on a non-motion, gyro-stabilized helicopter. I'm going to the first officer now, who has some important information to give you prior to boarding.
Hi everyone, I'm your first officer, Norm Snowman Miller. You'll be soaring the Arctic skies aboard the White Thunder with Captain Emerson at the stick. When we kick the jets in on this baby, she'll do 400 miles per hour. But don't worry about safety. Our onboard computer will make sure nothing can possibly go wrong.
Warning, passing Arctic storm headed for base.
I'm sure it's not that bad.
No, it's bad.
Then I should tell you that in the unlikely event of a water landing, the person seated next to you can be used as a flotation device. For safety, I need all of you to follow a few simple instructions. When given the clearance to board, walk quickly across the cabin to the last available seat. Remember to keep your head low when approaching White Thunder, or you'll be sporting a flat top look. To secure your seatbelt, place the metal tab into the slot and place all your carry-on luggage on your lap. Give that seatbelt a tug to make sure it's secure. Remain seated throughout the entire flight. Don't make me come back there. After we land at Base Station Wild Arctic and the doors open, remove your seatbelt and collect all your carry-on luggage. Exit through the open doors. Hey, it sounds like the computer's starting the engine. And even though I'm not flying White Thunder today, I've got a lot of things to do. Important co-pilot stuff. You know, knobs to turn, buttons to push. This is the Snowman. Over and out.
We then board our helicopter, and the seatbelts are checked till the doors are closed and the ride film begins. Our helicopter takes off from the Arctic base, and we find ourselves soaring over various gorgeous Arctic landscapes. Along the way, of course, we encounter several animals, such as polar bears, narwhals, and walruses. But in true theme park fashion, something has to go wrong, of course, and we land on a cliff edge for our captain to check what's going on with our helicopter. Of course, the cliff can't hold the weight of the helicopter, and it begins to collapse, sending us plunging towards the frigid water below. Of course, we pull up just in time, and we fly to our destination of Base Station Wild Arctic. Our helicopter safely lands, and the ride film concludes. We disembark our bumpy helicopter ride and are able to explore Base Station Wild Arctic, which in fact is a highly themed animal exhibit featuring various animals such as belugas, walruses, and seals. Of course, the attraction has to exit into a gift shop where you can purchase a plushie of your favorite Arctic animal. In 2007, during SeaWorld's annual Christmas celebration event, Wild Arctic would temporarily close, and get a seasonal overlay based off a movie released a few years prior that you've probably never heard of. Many of you that grew up in the 2000s probably have huge nostalgia for the Polar Express and the attraction at SeaWorld Orlando. But for those of you that don't remember or maybe never got to experience it, the Polar Express experience was actually a pretty extensive overlay of Wild Arctic, featuring large props and themed signage in the outdoor queue. The outdoor queue didn't receive many changes, but the indoor queue and pre-show received vinyl wraps to make it feel like the little boy's bedroom from the movie. The pre-show itself consisted of the opening of the movie up until the Polar Express's arrival. The video itself was tied with several special effects within the pre-show room, such as this LN2 jet when the whistle went off, as well as the planes on the ceiling shaking if I remember correctly. As I mentioned, the pre-show ends when the Polar Express parks outside the little boy's house. We are then directed into the loading area for the attraction, in which the simulators are even vinyl wrapped to look like the Polar Express. They put so much effort into this overlay that a special safety video was even created for it. After boarding the simulators themselves, which were also fully decked out to look like the inside of the Polar Express, which is a crazy amount of effort that they didn't really have to do. But it might have been something to do with IP rights maybe, and that's why they put so much effort into this. But the overlay kind of loses traction when you get to the ride experience itself, which is just a bunch of clips from the movie randomly mishmashed together to make a ride film, and a lot of the simulator motions were toned down. Now I can't play the entire ride film because I'll get copyrighted because it's just straight up the movie. But the theming didn't stop when you exited the simulator. The entire Wild Arctic exhibit was overlaid with Christmas lights to make it look like the North Pole from the movie. The Polar Express experience would return year after year until 2015, when SeaWorld decided to drop the Polar Express rights in exchange for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. In 2020, Wild Arctic would permanently close after the 2019 COVID-19 pandemic. No final rides were given on the attraction at all. And the building would later be repurposed for Howl-O-Scream's Beneath the Ice haunted houses from 2021 to 2023. In true theme park fashion, of course, rumors began swirling that Wild Arctic would be replaced by a launch coaster, which ended up being Icebreaker. Then, a rumor started that it would actually be replaced by a flying theater, similar to Legoland's Flying Couch Ride or Flight of Passage. By May of 2024, the simulators and queue had been completely removed from the Wild Arctic building. And in September of 2024, SeaWorld announced that a flying theater would be coming to the park. And later that year, the ride system was unveiled at the IAAPA Expo by Mack Rides. Dubbed the Aerific Flying Theater, this ride system doubled the capacity of your typical flying theater by a unique rotating double-sided loading system. Its much more slender profile also allowed theme parks to install it in pre-existing buildings, perfect for SeaWorld Orlando. And in December, ride pieces began showing up at the park. And in March of the next year, media was given a construction tour of the attraction, revealing just how much of a tight space this ride was really fitting into, especially with the then announced 2 theaters that would be side by side within the former simulator bays and pre-show space. In my opinion, Expedition Odyssey is a true engineering marvel, and proves that theme parks can get creative with any space given to them. Expedition Odyssey would officially open in May of 2025. The ride experience would begin after guests pass under the entrance sign and head up a ramp similar to the original Wild Arctic attraction. The indoor queue itself consists of black walls with images of Arctic animals in the landscape. After passing through that room, guests head down a hallway into one of 2 pre-show rooms. The pre-show itself is nothing to write home about and consists of the attraction's safety instructions and does not try to tell a story whatsoever. After the very brief pre-show, guests are brought into the attraction's theater and the ride experience begins. Now if you don't want the ride spoiled, skip about 3 minutes ahead. After disembarking the ride, guests head down a hallway into the Wild Arctic Animal Exhibit, which received no changes. And that's Expedition Odyssey. It's a very interesting attraction. While the ride system is really cool, the ride lacks in multiple departments. It feels like a rehash of Europe in the Air, nonsensical footage set to beautiful music with no story. But it wasn't always supposed to be that way. Now, originally, apparently, the ride story was you were supposed to be riding upon the Northern Lights. The pre-show was originally supposed to consist of an old man sitting at a campfire who would explain the legend of the Northern Lights and how they came to be. But apparently something changed the very last minute, and the version of the ride we have today was thrown together. According to some inside sources, this change was so last minute that that's the reason they weren't playing the footage on the media construction tour, is because there was no footage to play. It was just stills of the footage that had already been shot for the original version of the attraction. Some minor changes have been made to Expedition Odyssey since its opening though, adding smells, making the screens more clear, and adding this scene with the elk. But what remains of Wild Arctic? Well, you can spy many remnants if you know where to look. This big open area is the former pre-show space for the third simulator, and the hallway used to bypass the simulators is still in use today to, well, bypass the attraction and enter the animal exhibit. In the exit hallway, you can find remnants of the third simulator as well, such as this orange warning light and the area where the doors used to be. But the remnants don't just end there. Within the exhibit itself, you can find remnants of animals that are no longer present in the exhibit, as well as just a few fun details, such as these crates above the entrance into the shipwreck. These crates are labeled with various animals that used to call the exhibit home, such as the polar bear, and you can find the old logo throughout the exhibit. One of the less obvious remnants is on those silver square lights below these poles. They still say SeaWorld Adventure Parks on them. But in conclusion, Expedition Odyssey does its job of being a much-needed indoor attraction for the park, allowing guests to escape the horrid Florida heat or afternoon thunderstorm. But now, once again, we must travel back in time to SeaWorld San Diego as they're about to debut their own version of Mission Bermuda Triangle.
When SeaWorld created Mission Bermuda Triangle, we wanted you to experience firsthand the mystery and the intrigue behind countless inexplicable disappearances. We wanted you to feel the same kind of excitement as those who entered the triangle, only to never return. But there was one thing we didn't count on. It's not very good for repeat visits. Mission Bermuda Triangle, now disappearing at SeaWorld.
Opening in 1994, SeaWorld San Diego's version of Mission Bermuda Triangle would be an exact clone of SeaWorld Orlando's, featuring a similar queue and the exact same ride film. Like SeaWorld Orlando in 1997, Mission Bermuda Triangle would disappear forever, set to be replaced by no other than Wild Arctic. Similar to SeaWorld Orlando, San Diego's version would also feature an outdoor queue with photos of animals and a very lengthy pre-show. But at some point in the 2010s, the pre-show was updated to reflect the current status of the animal exhibit, as well as feature a new safety film, which acted more as a flight attendant vibe than the previous version.
On behalf of the flight and cabin crew, welcome. You will soon be on board one of our state-of-the-art MB-14 Thunder Series helicopters with final destination to Base Station Wild Arctic. At this time, please pay attention to the monitor as we prepare you for boarding. Below you are illuminated lights placed on the floor that guarantee you a seat on this flight. Please make sure you are standing on one of the lights at this time. Parties who wish to be seated together should stand on the same colored illuminated light. The weather in the Arctic is dramatic, so this could be a turbulent flight. This helicopter trip is not recommended for expectant mothers, those who have high blood pressure, back, neck, or heart problems, or travelers prone to motion sickness, have a sensitivity to stroke effects, or have had a recent surgery. If you are not accompanying us on this flight, please see one of our ground crew members who will assist you in exiting the pre-boarding area. We have a non-motion flight taking off very soon for your comfort. Once instructed by the ground crew member, please proceed directly to the helicopter and continue to move all the way across your row, filling in every available seat. Place all loose articles on the floor in front of you. For your safety, all passengers are required to wear safety belts throughout the flight. To fasten your belt, pull the belt out of the right side of the seat and snap it in the buckle on the left. Once fastened, give the belt a good tug to ensure it's properly secured. Please remain seated throughout the entire flight. You will begin boarding in just a few moments. Enjoy your adventure to Base Station Wild Arctic.
Unlike Orlando, it was actually announced by San Diego that in 2020, Wild Arctic would be permanently closing, set to be replaced by a future attraction. Arctic Rescue would of course reuse two of the simulator bays for its station and first launch, with the ride primarily being constructed in the former employee parking lot behind the attraction. Arctic Rescue, after being delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, would open in 2023, and I've never been to SeaWorld San Diego and thus never been on Arctic Rescue, but based on videos and reviews, I think it's a good replacement for the aging simulator attraction. It's decently themed, and is themed to SeaWorld Rescue, which helps promote their conservation efforts and hopefully gets kids interested and excited in those conservation efforts. And that technically makes this an edutainment ride, even though the ride itself isn't really about animals or features animals whatsoever, other than in the exit exhibit. And finally, I think it's a good stepping stone coaster from the kiddie coaster over at Sesame Place to Manta. That was a pretty big jump originally, and the addition of Arctic Rescue I think is a good fit for the park. But what remnants of the past can you find within the queue and area for Arctic Rescue? Well, the biggest one is the fact that the former two simulators that weren't used for Arctic Rescue are still intact, just lazily boarded up. Now, apparently, the simulators are still within these bays, but I couldn't find any proof or confirmation of that claim, other than in this video that I'm using. You can also find the helicopter that used to be in the queue in the ride area for the coaster. And now we must move on to our fifth and final park, one that is no longer with us, SeaWorld, Ohio.
Come to SeaWorld and get close to everything new. The new Cattail Ski Show with the funniest, funkiest daredevil cats and kittens you've ever seen. The new Riverboat Hollywood Stunt Show, a wild head-over-heels free-for-all. And the new Shamu Show, wet, wild, and wonderful, with the mysterious Pacific black whales.
Come to SeaWorld World and get close. SeaWorld and get close. Come to SeaWorld and get close.
By 2000, SeaWorld Ohio had rapidly expanded, adding several new animal exhibits such as Dolphin Cove. In 2000, they also added their first thrill ride, Mission Bermuda Triangle. Featuring a mostly outdoor queue, Mission Bermuda Triangle at SeaWorld Ohio was a much smaller scale, featuring only 4 simulators and not a highly detailed queue. It would recycle a lot of props from the previous extinct 2 versions and feature the same ride film. But just a year after it opened, SeaWorld Ohio would undergo a big change.
Don't miss the spectacular opening season of Six Flags Worlds of Adventure, uniting Six Flags Ohio with the former SeaWorld Ohio to create America's newest, grandest Six Flags. Now, experience 3 thrilling worlds with 1 ticket. A thrill park, a water park, and a sea life park. It's the only theme park of its kind in the world. Come celebrate the opening of America's new entertainment capital. Six Flags Worlds of Adventure. Wild life, wild rides.
Six Flags would keep Mission Bermuda Triangle open for a few more years, until it would permanently close in 2003 and be replaced by Dino Island 2: Escape from Dino Island, a film that could be found at most Six Flags Parks 4D theaters at the time. A lot of the theming for Mission Bermuda Triangle was recycled for Dino Island, including the towers. Dino Island would permanently close along with Six Flags Worlds of Adventure after the acquisition by Cedar Fair, and the park was turned into a water park. The back half of the park was fenced off, leaving Shark Encounter, Mission Bermuda Triangle, and Shamroos Happy Harbor abandoned. A lot of the props were left out to rot, and eventually the building was demolished in late 2010. And in 2025, the simulator pits were finally filled in with dirt and grass. And that brings us to the end of the story for SeaWorld and Busch Gardens simulator attractions. From wild and wacky to terrible knockoffs of Disney attractions, this has been one wild ride, and thank you for watching.